Hello you lot, this is KeefCooks, I'm Keef, and today I'm going to do some of my favourite things, pork pies, but not your standard ones. I'm going to do two types. One has got Stilton cheese on top, and the other one's got sage and onion stuffing on top. So the more pedantic and loyal followers among you will have noticed that I used to have a definition that I borrowed from the British Pork Pie Association, that a definition of a pie is a filling totally enclosed in pastry. However, there are exceptions like Cornish pasties, like shepherd's pie, cottage pie, and these, because they're not pastry on top, they're other yummy stuff. And they really are yummy stuff because I made some last week and they went in a flash. Oh yes. So here we go. Pork pie with Stilton, pork pie with sage and onion stuffing. If you enjoy this video, press like, etc. You know what to do. Let's get on with it. First thing to do is make the pastry, and because it's a pork pie and it's more or less freestanding, it's got to be hot water pastry. You know this, I've done it a million times. And I complain about that every time I do it, but there you go. So I want 250 grams of plain all-purpose flour. Half a teaspoon of salt. Also 125 grams of lard. You could use butter or pretty much any other hard fat, not oil. I've chopped those into bits. I'm going to put them on the stove to melt. And we also need 100 ml of water. This has just come out of the hot tap, so it'll do its thing quicker. So we heat that until the lard is all melted. Okay, that's done. So I'll add half of it to the flour. Then add the rest. That's looking good, and now we need to let that cool down and wrap it in plastic film and stick it in the fridge to chill completely. Alright, it's had an hour in the fridge, so it's cool. And I'm going to roll it out and make my shells. Now, I'm using these crumpet rings, and I've only got 4 of them, but I reckon there's probably enough there to do 8. Flour on the worktop. So grab about half the dough and roll it out. Put more flour on because this will stop it from sticking inside the ring, and then just press the pastry down to the bottom. Try not to crease, fold or cut it. I say these things as though they were easy. Alright, and then trim off the excess around the top. I'll just leave a little bit of extra because it might shrink. And just smooth it out. So that's our 4 shells, and I'm going to pop those in the fridge to chill for, well, probably at least 2 hours. I'm going to make up the filling now, but the first thing I need to do is make a seasoning mix, because it's easier if you mix all the components first and then add them. Because the other flavourings, the Stilton on the top and the sage and onion stuffing on the top are already, they're really, big flavours. I'm not going to use the seasoning mix that I would normally use. Well, I am, but less salt, so just half a teaspoon. And, oops, a teaspoon of ground black pepper, half teaspoon of mace or nutmeg, a teaspoon of thyme, or sage. This is sage. Whack the lid on, shake like billio. Now the pork filling, I've got 500 grams of minced pork, and that's 12% fat. And I've also got 2 rashers of back bacon with a lot of fat on as well, because, fat is flavour. You could leave the bacon out, but it's just there to give it a bit of variation in texture and flavour. So cut that into little squares. So let's assemble the filling. Bit of pork mince, bit of chopped bacon, bit of seasoning, more pork, hank, bacon, more seasoning, and the rest of the pork, more seasoning. Basically I want to use all of that in here, so mixy, give over, mixy with your handy pandy. When you've got everything nicely mixed in together, just cover the bowl and stick it in the fridge until we're ready for it. Now we know I'm normally pretty much of a stickler for doing things from scratch, but on this occasion I'm not making my own stuffing. So I bought some from Tesco, sage and onion stuffing, wonderful stuff. I can't actually make anything that tastes like this. Well, I can get close, but it's not exactly right. So I'm using half that package, which contains 170 grams, so I'm using 75. I need 200 ml of boiling water. And I don't have a sexy glass kettle anymore because the second one stopped working and Mrs. KeefCooks forbade me to get a third one. So I've got a regular steel one, which isn't as pretty. Never mind. So just, well, do what it says on the packet. Add the boiling water, stir it in, and leave it 5 minutes. And then I also like to stir in a lump of butter near the end. Okay, just set that aside to cool down, and might be an idea to put it in the fridge. I'm just going to slice my Stilton. Apologies, or a shout out to Brenda Rigdon in Florida, who says she loves Stilton, especially the white variety, but can't get it. Can't get any blue cheeses over there, which is tragic. But you know, you don't have to use Stilton, you can use any blue cheese you like or you can get, or even just ordinary cheese. I like the idea of this because we're doing a pork pie similar to a Melton Mowbray pork pie, which is near Leicester, and Stilton cheese comes from around there as well. Now, I'm not going to attempt to do them freestanding. I'm going to start them off at least for half a time in the crumpet rings. So, but I'll just make sure I can get them out easily before I put the filling in. And you know, like Scotch pies, if you could leave these in the fridge for about 3 days and they would harden enough for you to be able to do the freestanding thingy. But well, I haven't got 3 days and it's not making that much difference to me. Now you need to heat your oven to 150 Celsius for a fan oven, a convection oven. That's 170 for a conventional one, and that is gas mark 3. Okay, now weigh all of your pork filling. Okay, so I've got 550 grams there. I need about 80. Right, so I'll just get myself some 80 gram chunks of filling. Now, before I put the top filling on, or the topping we'll call it, shall we? Yeah. I'm just going to glaze the rim and just a bit inside the top with beaten egg. And then put the topping on. So I'll do 2 with stuffing and 2 with cheese. Okay, so I'm going to put those in the oven for 25 minutes initially, and then I'm going to take them out and do something and then finish them off. Right, we're half done, so let's see what we got. Now, the tricky bit is to see if we can get the rings off. No. Nearly. Yay. Right, time's up. I think we're done. Oh, hey. Okay, that's interesting. The cheesy one, the cheese has kind of melted and dribbled down the side. That's, right, these have cooled down a bit, so I'm going to cut those open. I've got the second batch in the oven. Just like you can probably hear that buzzing sound. So here we go. Stilton cheese and pork pie. And pork pie with sage and onion stuffing top. I can't wait to get my gnashers around those. Oh yeah. And now, it's bedtime.
Come on, we can do this.
It's taste of time with Mrs. KeefCooks!
Right, okay, it's been a bit of a long day, hasn't it?
Hi,
Yeah.
Con Stilton.
So I know these are good
Stilton.
because he did some of these the other day and we liked them a lot. But they were a bit too salty, weren't they? 'Cause the
Yes, well, check it out.
cheese, yeah. Oh, that's more like it.
Subtle.
You don't realise when you're just eating Stilton normally, but it's really salty. And yeah. Oh, this is much nicer. Oh, I like this. Picnic. Not supposed to eat pie in a hurry.
Oh,
No.
They're both marvellous combinations, aren't
They are. And they look really good as well. Because when you made them the first time round, it didn't quite fill, did it?
they? No.
And then so you've adjusted how you do it. So they look really nice and they taste great, as always. Pastry, norm.
Yeah, because we're not going to have any jelly in them. Yeah, okay, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon it's time to sit down and knock off for the day.
Also, it's dang hot. Yeah.
In an English
tropical
sort
leaves.
of way, 23 degrees.
That's hot.
Us is melting.
Scorching. Is it scorching?
It's time to stop.
Okay. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Make these, they're great.